Oh, it's roasting hot today. It's the hottest day of the year, so it seems the perfect chance to give the new 2024 Model 3 a roasting. I'm going to tell you all about the bad things, the things that annoy me, the little niggles, the things that aren't so good. I found a lot of YouTube videos out there where people get to drive it for a day, maybe a press car, and they're blown away by the performance and handling, which are good. But this has been my car for the last 11 days. I've bought it, I own it. And so I'm going to tell you everything I do not like so much about the new 2024 Tesla Model 3 Performance. Niggle number one, let's start off with the price of this car. In the UK at the moment, it's £60,000. Now, if you think about cars that are of this kind of performance, 0 to 60, claimed as 2.9 seconds. We've done another video about exactly how quick it really is. There's not much else out there you can get for £60,000 new that has this kind of performance. That's fair enough. But if you are watching this from another country and you convert £60,000, you'll see that we probably pay a lot more than you would. I mean, compare it to in the States where I think you can drive this away on the road for something beginning with a 3. It's much, much cheaper in other countries. So we do pay a hefty price compared to the other countries around the world. Having said that, in the UK, there are benefits if you buy one of these through a business, and there are some tax savings, but I covered that in my video about what's good about the 2024 Model 3 Performance. So check out the link to that other video in the description below, or the link at the end of the video. And one big difference here which gripes me, compared to the US cars, we get 460 horsepower. The US cars are down as 510 horsepower. Tesla have never really quoted horsepower figures before, but on their website, the UK one is 460 horsepower, US one's 510 horsepower. And that's down to the battery. It seems like we probably get the 79 kilowatt hour LG pack, and in the US they get the 82 kilowatt hour Panasonic pack. And that pack can just put out more power. Simple as that. So we pay a lot for it, and we don't get the same power as the States. So that was a bit of a gripe before I even bought this car. Tesla still haven't fixed their rain sensor. It's still just completely sporadic. It can be a lovely dry day like this and they just come on for no reason. It can be drizzling and you want them to come on and they don't come on. It's still painful getting the rain sensors to work. Why Tesla have not fixed that yet? If they can't fix it with Tesla Vision, then just put a rain sensor back in and make that work, because every other car works faultlessly. You don't even think about it. But on the Model 3, the Model Y Teslas, or any Tesla in recent years, it's just painful. The looks. I like the look of the Highland front end, and I think with the performance front bumper that's different, we've got the scoops in there and the front splitter. I think that looks okay, but my gripe is probably, I would have probably liked it to look a bit more different to just a long range or standard range. Maybe slightly more flared arches, just a little bit of something. Hasn't got to be too dramatic. If you look at something like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, it's distinctly different to all the others. It looks really quite dramatic. I like a little bit of subtlety, but I would have just liked maybe some slightly more flared arches, a slightly wider stance on the road. So again, it's just, if you don't look at the front bumper there, you look at it from the side, especially with the aero covers in these alloys. And these alloys actually look quite good in person. I'm not going to put them in the niggle list, but from here, that could be a £20,000 cheaper standard range, really. These new seats, they're better than before. We've now got some support at the side so you don't just slide around in the seat. But I think they could still be better. In reality, seats in other cars are better. So there's still a lack of adjustable thigh support. I think they're certainly better than the long range and standard range. I think they're actually slightly longer in the leg here, but an adjustable thigh support. And actually I was finding I quite like this back bit here to be adjustable. Again, in some cars, like some BMWs, this top section of the seat can adjust separately, so that can move up or down. Also, what you get on some other seats are adjustable side supports, so here and here even in some cars, so they can squeeze you in more or you can relax them out a little bit. These are just non-adjustable, they are supportive, but if you're any bigger than me, then you'll find like it does kind of close you in. It'd be nice sometimes, maybe a longer journey, you want to maybe slouch a little bit more, that they could kind of expand out and be adjustable. I'd also like this headrest to be able to adjust sort of forwards a bit as well, and maybe be a little bit softer. So again, when you're actually just doing the long journeys in the car, it is a bit more comfortable. It's okay, it's not like a major complaint, but again, with the price differences and just compared to the competition, they're just being left behind a little bit here, and they could be better. And the same with the back seats. They're basically okay, but as you sit in here, your knees are quite a long way up, and I'm sort of nowhere near touching the seat here. So in a way, they could just do being a bit more sculpted to hold any rear passengers in a little bit. It's still good to have a middle seat that is usable, but it's It's okay. I just think it could be better. They could sculpt these a little bit more, so even if your knees are up a bit, you can be a bit more supported. What we don't want to, you know, one advantage of this car is it's lower. So you compare it to something like the Hyundai Ioniq 5M, which is one of the strong competitors to this car, and the other car is very tempted to buy. It is higher, which gives you better rear leg space and stuff like that, but then that comes at the detriment of height. So I don't think that would be a good thing, but I think they could just try and do a little bit of something to get these seats better supported for rear passengers. It would have been nice if the Model 3 was a hatchback. It always would have been, like a Polestar. So still a low shape like this, but just opens as a hatchback, because the saloon just isn't as practical. And saloons in Europe just aren't as popular as they are in the States, for example. The other thing I would say is, on the Highland cars, this tailgate does not open as far. I can sort of force it to there. But you've got to be a bit careful of this here, because it's the perfect head height to knock that there. Plus you've got a couple of corner bits here, not quite as dangerous as a VW ID3, but nonetheless, you've just got to be a little bit careful with this. One thing I like about some other cars, so for example VWs, Mercedes, is that the rear camera can be covered by the badge in the case of VW. So this stays nice and clean. Like any car really, where the camera's just exposed in the back like this, it just gets dirty and you can't see as well when you're reversing. And because it uses Tesla vision, good vision is important. So some kind of method to cover the rear camera, like VW do on the ID3, for example, I think is fantastic. I wish it had that. So these back tyres are now 275/30R20, so wider than before, and that probably helps it get that slightly sharper 0 to 60 time. The problem I found with the performance, and I have had just the long range Model 3 Highland before, remember, is I find quite a lot of road noise from these tyres. A lot of videos have said it's really quiet in the cabin, it's very well insulated, and generally it is, but maybe here in the UK we have a coarser tarmac, so there are some sections of road which are a smooth tarmac and then it is very quiet, but we have a lot of tarmac which is very coarse, and actually I find it picks up on that noise a lot. So on certain roads, it's quite noisy in the cabin for tyre noise, again, compared to a number of other cars. It's nothing tragic, it's not absolutely awful, but it's quite a bit different, I think, to the standard and long range examples. It does pick up the noise, maybe more so here than other people have reported with better tarmac in other countries. We've got roads. The charging speed. So when you stop at a Tesla supercharger, which are fantastic, I'll give them that, but the charging speed isn't as good, again, as some other cars out there now. So Hyundai, Porsche, Audi, they have 800 volt batteries, they charge quite a bit faster than this. Even some other cars which don't have 800 volt just charge faster. It's not bad, and again, typically it's not really an issue because it charges as quick as you ever really need to stop on long journeys. But by the time you get above 50% battery, it tends to be around about 100 kilowatts and still then continuously tailing off. You'll very rarely see the 250 kilowatt. That'd only be really quite a low state of battery, about 10%. So it's okay, but other cars are just better to get to 80 or 90%. They're just faster now. So it'd be nice if this was keeping pace with that, literally. So talking about pace, let's talk about the performance. So we've done other videos where we've tested the 0 to 60 time of this car using a draggy. And actually, to be fair, I was getting 2.93, including a 1 foot rollout, just on a road. So there's no doubt it can do that. And Tesla do count as 1 foot rollout, which isn't something we typically do. It does mean it's over 3 seconds, not by much, about a tenth, if it is without the 1 foot rollout. But it's a fast car. Compared to the previous cars, yes, a bit quicker. Again, check out that other video. You'll see it in our recent video list where we do some draggy times. We even put it head to head. Basically, for me, it feels quicker on the launch. The launch is faster, and we've shown that with the cars at the same state of battery charge. And this is quicker than the previous cars. However, I think once you're rolling and you kind of say 40, 50 miles an hour or above, it's hard to feel any difference. Not that that's really that applicable in the UK. The fastest road here is 70 miles an hour as a public road, so it's not exactly applicable, and you can't call it slow, but it doesn't feel like it's got that higher end grunt, which I was kind of hoping this would have with this new motor. Now, maybe that's the difference with the US cars, and maybe they've got some more performance at a higher speed. Now, they will see some more videos featuring this car, not on this channel, doing some head-to-head drag runs against strong competition and the previous car at higher speeds. So you'll see more on those videos. I can't tell you the results of that, but it is quicker, but not really by too much notable. It's really on that initial launch, and it's probably helped by the wider rear tyres, just getting the extra traction away from the line. For some people, they're going to find the lack of Apple CarPlay, Android Auto may be a frustration. Actually, I'm okay with that. And it's the same for the lack of stalks. A big talking point about the 2024 Model 3 is the lack of stalks. So there's no drive selector here, there's no indicator here. You indicate from the steering wheel, and the drive selector, well, normally it's automatic. With your seatbelt on, foot on the brake, it normally knows if you need to go forward or backwards, otherwise you change it on the screen. So I will clarify, personally, I've actually got used to this. I'm okay with it, but I do totally understand that a lot of people just wouldn't be. My wife drove this car a little bit coming back from Cornwall the other day, and she found it really quite frustrating. Again, if it was any car she was driving, over time you get used to it, but if it's not the main car you drive and you don't get used to it, that's going to be a frustration. You'll also see in other cars head-up display. Of course, Tesla have never done head-up display. It would kind of make sense. Again, personally, I'm actually not too bothered, and I don't find having the speed here any issue at all. But some people, it's going to be a holdback, and I think it wouldn't do any harm to have a head-up display. It would suit it quite well. You know, one main screen there, one head-up display of your main details in front of you there, I think would be nice to have at the end of the day. The car's reading 30 degrees now, and on a hot day like this, it has exploded a couple of things that annoy me a little bit about just keeping cool. So the air-conditioned seat we now get, lovely, good stuff. That's great. But the airflow here, especially when you get in it and you haven't pre-conditioned it, which is a great thing on Tesla. You can just open the app and quickly start the air conditioning running before you get to the car. That's good. But I can't just get like a nice, decent airflow from these vents here. No matter how much I change how I want this, it still kind of has diffused air. Once you've been in the car a few minutes, it's okay, but that first bit, you've been walking out in the sun, it's boiling hot, you just want a really good airflow. You'd move a vent to be right on your hands and face and just cool down a little bit. And it doesn't really have that. And in fact, what I have found as well, now that I'm wearing shorts, I've got my knees out, sorry about that, is that, again, no matter where I move the vents, I typically get this kind of cold draft on my knees here, which I would prefer not to have. I want cool air here and around me, but I get like a bit of a cold draft here. Plus, if you've got a haircut like mine, you will find a little bit of heat coming through this glass roof. Again, kind of on the motorway, it tends to move the air through, you don't notice it so much, but as I sit here now, I can feel the sun coming through this glass roof. I know with some of the earlier Model 3s that, for example, in California, they had a heat reflective glass panel. And you can see that when the roof was wet, you'd get the different colours, you get the pinkish and purples and greens and stuff like that from showing their heat reflective elements. But we don't have that. I have seen it on one car in the UK, but these cars certainly don't have it. And you do feel it a little bit. I mean, 30-degree days aren't exactly common for us, but a heat reflective thing in the glass would make it better. For example, my Porsche Taycan had a big glass roof, but I could never feel that heat from the sun on my head here. So that could be better, couldn't it, really? I don't think it would cost them much to have that for a £60,000 car. Heat reflective, glass roof, yes please. Autopilot. Right, Tesla known for Autopilot. If I'm being honest, I don't find it as nice to use as some other cars. And Gint's there behind the camera, loves a bit of Autopilot, but I disagree. Probably one of the biggest parts that I find this different is on my drive to work, I come along a country road which varies between 30, 40, 50 miles per hour, goes up and down all over the place, has a number of turns in the road. So again, just to prove it this morning, I had a passenger take a quick clip. So you'll see here that when I go through a speed limit where the speed increases, from this case from 40 to 50 miles an hour, the car doesn't change. It can recognise it, it shows me on the screen it's now 50, but it will not pick up the speed to 50. I also found that when you have a decrease in speed limit, say 50 to 40 or 40 to 30, it would usually decrease the speed, but on a couple of occasions, not consistency, or not until a bit later. On one occasion, which I don't have on the camera, I went through two 30 miles per hour signs, but I was still doing 40. And then on the third one, it picked it up and then did reduce down to 30 eventually. But I wouldn't exactly say I'd trust it and rely on it, and I think it would be easy to be caught out. I was also finding on this A road this morning that it was slowing down quite a lot for some corners that you could take faster. It was just hesitating, and personally I just didn't find it that brilliant. I think it's better on motorways, but I didn't find it brilliant. Now, The reality is I find other cars better. Porsche Inner Drive, Audi, e-tron or e-tron GT, and even my wife's VW ID3 does a better job. I can go down that A road and the car will just change the speed limit, and it changes it for exactly when you go through the sign. So when it decreases, I go through the sign, it's decreasing, it gets to 30 just as you go through it, and it goes around the corners nice as well. So the fact that I find this more frustrating than my wife's VW ID3 that costs a third as much as this, that's frustrating. Sorry, Tesla fan people, I am a Tesla fan, but personally, I don't find it as good as some other systems out there now. The headlights, not bad, they're okay. They've now got matrix in them as well, and software is being updated by Tesla, so they're getting better. But there's better out there, again, so it's good that we have the matrix now, and like I say, by modern standards, they're okay, they're acceptable, but there's just better ones out there. Again, unfortunately, my wife's VW ID3 actually has better headlights in this car. They're proper cornering lights, and the matrix is much neater and brighter with a better spread. So they're just not quite there with the latest competition. I mean, BMW got laser headlights, Audi, Mercedes digital headlights. So I want Tesla to make sure they're keeping pace with good current headlight technology. You know, if you're driving this car fast down Autobahn at night in Germany, you're going to want a really good headlight, and as I say, not quite there with that. The other thing I think the headlights could do is illuminate when you approach the car at night in the dark. This car doesn't have any lights that come on when you approach. It doesn't have any lights in the door handles. A common complaint, you've seen me on videos before saying there's no puddle lights here or in the door handles. You can't, in fact, my last one was black, and when you've got a black car, you can't see these black door handles at all in pitch black dark. You can't see them. Again, other cars typically would have lights that illuminate down the side or in the door handles, or the headlights light up as you approach the vehicle. So again, I'd just like to see some of that. It's just a bit of a niggle that always comes around, especially in winter time. That's just an annoyance, so I'd like to see that improved. So, there we have it. That's all my moaning and niggles of the Model 3 performance. Is it a bad car? No, it's a really good car. It's a really good car. So, we can pick fault in a lot of things, I do especially, quite critical. But it is a good car, and I'm actually enjoying having this car. And if you want to see what's really good about it, check out my other video, which I'm going to release at the same time, which is all the good things I really like about the 2024 Model 3 performance. And in reality, I'll be honest here, I'm actually enjoying it more than I thought I would, if that makes sense. So, and I've driven all the Teslas before, so I'm enjoying this car. It is good, and check out that other video to see why.